My name is Mr. Friend, and this is my 1965 Ford Mustang. And over the past year or so, we've done some really good upgrades to this car. Last year, we installed Holley's 2 Sniper fuel injection kit, which really woke up the car's throttle response and gave us some better fuel mileage. An awesome mod. A few months ago, you saw me install a 1-wire alternator in this car to help provide more juice and power for the electrical system. But today we're going to do something really special. Today, I'm going to talk you through my experience installing AFR's Enforcer small block Ford top end kit. That's right, we're adding more horsepower to my 1965 Ford Mustang. Stay tuned, because this is a good one. So, I actually have a bit of a confession to make. Every time I finish this video, I always talk about how wonderful the car runs, which is not exactly true. It does run pretty good. However, I have been actually having a problem with the car overheating. And this has been going on actually since I brought the car home several years ago. And it actually has led to a head gasket failure. This was verified by testing the coolant, and I was actually getting combustion gases in the coolant. And so I reached out to my friends at AFR who suggested, hey, why don't you throw in a top end kit with this thing, and we've got a new cam to try out. And I said, yep. Absolutely, sign me up. That sounds amazing. So before we talk about the AFR kit, let me tell you what's in here right now. What's in here right now is actually the stock 289 that the car left with in the factory in 1965. My grandfather did do some mild upgrades in the late 70s when he owned this car, and so it's got a mild Isky cam. It's been converted to a 4-barrel intake manifold, an End Overhaul manifold, and supposedly it's got some high compression. I'm not quite sure. He said 10.5 to 1. I've got 0 things to verify this. However, it sounds good, and it did drive well before it overheated. So with everything done, I'm going to say it's probably making about 200 to 220-ish at the crank before we did this AFR kit. So now that we know roughly what we're making as a baseline, let me tell you about the kit itself. This is AFR's Enforcer top end kit. The really cool thing about the AFR kit is it pretty much came with everything I needed to refresh the top end and add a little extra horsepower. So this came with their Enforcer 185cc cylinder heads. These are aluminum. They're cast aluminum. They are much lighter and they flow much better than the cast iron boat anchors that the car came with. It also came with AFR's new camshaft for the small block Ford. There's a 351 firing order, more on that later. And it came with a new intake manifold and all the requisite gaskets I would need to complete this kit. What it did not come with was a timing chain, the gaskets for the timing cover, lifters, or push rods. I sourced those from our friends over at Engine Pro, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. But the install was honestly pretty straightforward. As far as bolt-on engine mods go, this is about as easy as it gets. So I started with removing the radiator. From there, I was able to remove the exhaust manifolds, these ancient headers that I have on here, remove the intake manifold, and the heads. The really cool thing is that with the radiator out of the way, I was actually able to slide the camshaft out without having to unbolt any engine mounts. So with the top end disassembled, we can start with our new assembly process, which was honestly pretty easy and straightforward. We started with verifying the engine was at top dead center, then we covered our new camshaft in copious amounts of assembly lube and gently slid it into place. We put in the retaining cap, and then we started to assemble our new timing set. This is a double chain billet set from Engine Pros, and this thing is a beautiful piece. After our timing set was installed, we replaced the timing cover with its gaskets, and from there we installed our new Engine Pro harmonic balancer. The original harmonic balancer was totally roosted. It's been painted over a bunch of times. This one from Engine Pro has very nice, clearly engraved timing marks, and is a nice balancing upgrade to this vehicle. Thank you, Engine Pro. And then we got to do the fun part, which is actually lay down our new Felpro head gasket and install the cylinder heads. Like I said earlier, the kit that comes with these heads are the AFR's Enforcer 185cc chambers cast aluminum cylinder heads. These are significantly lighter than the cast iron ones that came with the car originally. They also flow much better. We actually dropped a significant amount of weight on the front low end of this car, which is actually really cool. We're actually helping with the weight balance by installing this upgrade. So not only are we making more horsepower, we're actually adding to the handling as well, which is always cool. So with our heads installed, we actually get to address the Valvetrain now. Because this new camshaft is a hydraulic camshaft, we actually can't use any of our old Valvetrain components, which is fine because that is probably well over 50 years old and we have new stuff. So we started with hydraulic lifters from Engine Pro, and these are really nice, high quality pieces. They come linked together so they don't shift around, and those drop in place perfectly where the old lifters were. After that, we put in fresh push rods. These are actually the same length push rods as the factory ones. Depending on your application, you may need to change these, but in our case, we were able to use the same length as factory. The rocker studs were also included in the top end kit from AFR, and those dropped right in. And then for rocker arms, we actually went with Engine Pro's billet rocker arms. These are really beautiful. They have roller bearings, and they actuate really nicely and should be able to handle actually the extra RPM for this cam, which is exciting. So with everything into place, then I got to actually do the fun part of actually adjusting the valves. This is my first time actually adjusting valves on any type of motor, and it took me a few tries to get it right. It took a couple of phone calls, but once I got into the flow, it was actually pretty easy to understand and actually went pretty smoothly. And if you're looking how to do it, don't ask me. You don't want me teaching you how to do this. Took me a long time to figure this out. Once I got the hang of it, it was pretty easy. There's a ton of good resources out there, including some on our sister magazine, Engine Labs. So if you want to learn more about that, check it out there. But once we had our Valvetrain installed and adjusted, then we put on this intake manifold. This is a beautiful intake manifold. It's cast with machined surfaces. And what's really nice about this intake manifold is that it's a single plane. And with the single plane, it's actually going to work much better with our Holley fuel injection system, and we should get even greater throttle response. So once the intake manifold was installed, then I could start replumbing in the Holley Sniper 2. We put on our valve covers and reinstalled the headers. Once everything was buttoned up, then it was time to start the car. And first start was not good. It kept missing really bad. It kept backfiring and catching fire through the throttle body, and I could not figure out why until I looked at the box and the cam said 351 Windsor. And if you don't know, I just learned this, is that the 289s and 351s and the later 5-liter HO motors actually have different firing orders from the other earlier small black Fords. So my 289 actually had a different firing order than what was set for this cam, and that was causing the issue. So once I had that figured out, I reset the Holley, and then it started up fine. The Holley went through its self-learning, and then after about an hour or so driving, I felt the tune was good enough to take it to the dyno. So let's talk about dyno day. Dyno day is always a very fun and stressful endeavor. This was my first time actually taking any car to the dyno, and I was honestly pretty nervous. It took a lot to get this car running, it took a lot to get the tune right, and I still wasn't 100% confident in it. But, you know, I was out of time, we had to take it to the dyno. So we went over to Papini's garage in Temecula, who did an awesome job. If you have any sort of Mustang, especially a late model Mustang, they take really good care of you. I highly recommend it. So we got the car strapped up onto the dyno and we started making power pulls. And the car actually did okay. We made only 230 horsepower at the wheels, and that is because the C4, the ancient 50-year-old C4 in this car, was holding us back. The shift governor was kind of maxed out on adjustment, and it was shifting at 5,400 RPM. You can see in the torque curve, actually, we probably have a lot more to give. And really, with this cam combination, we need to rev it closer to like 6,400. So we lifted 1,000 RPM on the table. But still, 230 at the wheels is honestly a significant upgrade from where this car was at 55 years ago. And I'm confident when I swap in that 4-speed in the back there, and we're able to rev it out fully to 6,400 RPM, we should be able to make closer to 280 at the wheels, which is honestly probably close to double the power this car made brand new in 1965. And out of just a head cam and intake, that's honestly really incredible, and I'm really happy with it. But if you're curious if this AFR kit is right for you, I would highly recommend it. If you have a tired engine but the bottom end is still good, or maybe you just want an easy way to make some extra power, this is honestly a great comprehensive kit, and with the right tuning, you can really wake up any small block Ford you might have. AFR's customer support was wonderful. A big shout out to Engine Pro 2 for helping get the Valvetrain dialed, and they were a big help in figuring out what parts I would need and what would fit and what would make the most sense on this car, so huge thanks to Engine Pro as well. Now, as for me, I'm going to enjoy my new Mustang, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.